William Afton is a man of many names. You may know him as Springtrap or Dave Miller, or even just Purple Guy or Steve Raglan. I'm gonna stop here, but it doesn't exactly matter what he's called or even whether or not he's alive or dead, because one thing is for certain, he's the main antagonist of the original FNAF games and the person who is directly responsible for most of the events we see transpire in the FNAF series. He appears in almost all the classic FNAF games 1 through 6, starting at 2, and ends up in Hell and UCN. But despite this, we really don't get to hear a lot about him that isn't 8-bit mini-games or pure speculation. The books help us a little bit and give us information, but despite this, he still remains a character shrouded in mystery. So that's why I thought it would be fun to share with you guys 5 fun canon facts about William Afton that you may not have known. Hey, Soda from the future here, and I just wanted to clarify that some of these facts are just things that I personally noticed and some of the connections that I made. And on top of that, just kind of my own interpretations of what I think Scott meant when he put these in. Take these 100% seriously. Just enjoy the video, and I hope you learned something new, or see our favorite evil Great Fanta guy in a different light. Number 1, he smells really bad, canonically. And I'm not just talking about when he's stuck in the Springlock suit. The novelization of the movie tells us something about his character that I think we all expected. When Michael meets him for the first time at the career counselor office, he notices that Steve Raglan has a strange smell, almost like an old basement. The smell is so noticeable that the book describes it 3 separate times throughout the chapter. Now this could be a hint that our favorite purple weirdo does not shower as much as he should, but I think it's actually foreshadowing to the events later in the book when we discover that Afton has been hanging around the abandoned pizzeria for quite some time. Skipping around in a rotting yellow rabbit suit cannot make you smell very good. Honestly, this particular fact is a little bit funny to me, mostly because of the writer's decision to include it 3 separate times in the chapter. Fact number 2, he seemingly has a love for the circus and clowns. In Sister Location, we see some of William Afton's own creations for the first time. The Funtime animatronics are specialized high-tech robots designed for kidnapping children that he intends to perform experiments on. The game itself even takes place in the underground bunker, where a lot of his experiments are implied to take place. Throughout the building, there are a lot of design choices that remind me of a circus, with Circus Baby being the most obvious example, but there are lots of smaller clown-themed trinkets scattered all around, as well as the Funtime animatronics themselves, which all feature rosy cheeks and exaggerated color palettes similar to a clown. On top of that, in Pizzeria Simulator, we see a depiction of the Afton family in the alley behind the pizzeria, which depicts a few different figures you'd see in a circus. I don't see this as a coincidence at all. It also seems like he might have a thing for magicians as well, given that Spring Bonnie himself seems to follow some kind of magician motif. And in the Afton family Easter egg in Security Breach, William himself is depicted as a magician staff bot in the family. This reference to magic could also be a reference to how he manipulates people to get what he wants, using deception, lies, and even illusion discs. Okay guys, now I have an image of Spring Bonnie pulling scarves out of his costume, and I think that that's really funny. Fact number 3. So this is more just my speculation about the garbled voice that we heard in FNAF 1. It's interesting because this excerpt is from a book called Autobiography of a Yogi, which was published in the 1940s and served as an introduction to Eastern philosophy and religion to many people in the West. In Chapter 8, our narrator visits the Bose Institute and has a conversation with one of the scientists there. Now, this specific quote in this interaction really stuck out to me. "Sir, it is lamentable that mass agricultural development is not speeded by fuller use of your marvelous mechanisms. Would it not be easily possible to employ some of them in quick laboratory experiments to indicate the influence of various types of fertilizers on plant growth? You are right. Countless uses of Bose instruments will be made by future generations. The scientist seldom knows contemporaneous reward. It is enough to possess the joy of creative service." Now, this quote explores a very unique concept, and that's the joy of creation. Haha, you guys can laugh now. What's explained here is that the immediate rewards aren't the only thing that bring a scientist fulfillment, but instead it's the process of creation itself, and the knowledge that their research and contributions will impact future generations. The idea of how metal conducts electricity is also discussed in this chapter, and how it's similar to almost a life force. I think this definitely would have sparked a young William Afton's interest if he were to read this book, which I think he did. I mean, Steve Jobs did as well, so... And if we look at the historical implication, especially in the US, this paints a clearer picture. In the 1960s and the 1970s, Eastern philosophy, religion, and culture became very popular. In the mainstream media, it's very likely that William has always had an obsession with life and death and probably read extensively about many different spiritual practices and worldviews. I think this is some of the closest looks we get into his very elusive and secretive experiments. And honestly, this book is pretty good, so I would definitely recommend giving it a read. Overall, it's a pretty cool reference, and I'm glad that Scott put it in. Now on to number 4. So, 2 facts about William's name. William itself is a funny choice on Scott's party. The name has German roots to Wilhelm, which means strong helmet, and this is pretty funny because this is pretty much what he wears, given the Spring Bonnie suit. Afton has roots in afternoon, which isn't as interesting, but it's definitely a very uncommon and memorable last name. Now this one is something that the newer fans might not know, but Markiplier was the one to dub him Purple Guy in the beginning. Gee, I wonder why. On top of that, he also popularized calling Golden Freddy. Officially, his name is Yellow Bear in the files. This one's for the older FNAF fans as well, and if you're newer, you might learn something new. But back when FNAF 2 came out, I want to say, a lot of people theorized that William Afton was 2 different people, even MatPat himself. This is because of his 2 different sprites in the secret minigames. One's more obviously purple, while the other is pinkish. Personally, I don't see this, but it was enough for a lot of people to think that they were 2 separate people. Now speaking of MatPat, does anyone else remember his first FNAF theory? Because that one was absolutely insane. Basically, it was that FNAF 1 was hell for Mike after he shot up Freddy Fazbear's. 2014 was a wild year, guys. This theory, although absolutely insane and probably not what Scott ever intended at all, is actually kind of funny and unironically predicted Ultimate Custom Night, where William Afton is in hell being punished by his creations. And with that, we've come to the end of the video. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. I can't believe my Afton divorce video got 10k views. That's absolutely insane. You guys are awesome. We're almost halfway to 500 subscribers, so if you haven't, go ahead and subscribe to join my party. The Michael Afton video should be out in a little bit, as well as some coverage on some fan content that I'm really excited to show you guys. As always, have a great day. See ya.